You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The ecosystem approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach Show. If you've been listening to our show before, you know we often talk about mom and that she has dementia and how as intuitives we work with that condition and what we see from an energetic perspective. She recently passed, and we're going to tell you about the fascinating story of how she died and how we were with her to the very end. Stay tuned for our story of life, death, dying, and your soul, and how it will all work, how it all worked for mom in the final moments. We are married intuitives with over 25 years experience who created the ecosystem approach. This is a groundbreaking way to see yourself in this age of Aquarius. We help you unleash healing and potential that is unknown today and is totally unique to you personally. This is not your typical type of energy work. We help you with life-changing internal discovery that is powerful, rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. So, what is the background story around our story with mom, Jason?
So she came to live with us about 10 years ago after my dad died.
That was right.
And it was something that we didn't know it at that time, but she had dementia then.
Yes.
But the main thing that we were aware of was that she couldn't hear. So we went basically to get her, and my dad was taken from our house to a skilled nursing facility, and then 2.5 weeks later, he died.
Right.
And we went to Minnesota. We said, "Oh, Mom, you're coming to live with us," and she hemmed it out a little bit, but she didn't. She did. And I think she knew that, well, I don't know if she knew. I mean, one of the things we talked about, she didn't have very much self-awareness.
No, she did not.
But she couldn't stay on her own. And she was functioning with my dad on her own, but just barely, getting by.
Yes.
So while we were still in Minnesota, which is where she lived, we took her to a hearing specialist, and he said her hearing was so bad that hearing aids wouldn't work.
Right.
And so when we got back here to California,
Mr. Research started looking at things.
And we had her get an operation for a cochlear implant, which is sort of like a bionic ear.
Correct.
And they put a metal plate in your head, literally, and it vibrates, and it takes the place of your hearing canal.
Right, and it talks to the brain.
Yes.
Those vibrations.
Yes,
that is correct.
And the brain learns how to rehear.
That's correct.
And
by the way, she did very well, actually.
She did very well. It was really important for us because basic communication we couldn't have.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize that it wasn't her. We thought it was her hearing, but it was really cognitive too.
Yeah.
If her dementia was already in play.
Yeah, exactly.
And now in hindsight, we can see the dementia behaviors, but the implant kept us from getting a specific diagnosis because
Correct.
she couldn't get an MRI because of the metal plate
in her head, and not to mention it would make everything blow up. So that was that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So so I'd like to tell the story about when she died, and I think that this is really, really important. And if you hear a tear or two or see one, please, I've done very well. I was with her for more than anyone else. And the irony is that with the cochlear implant, it's called timbre of my voice. She could resonate with that better than anybody else. So I interpreted many, many, many things for her throughout the years that we had her. So She was really struggling, and we finally had hospice come in, and they really helped. Amazing people. We also got some caregivers. They were amazing people as well. I was exhausted, and this is not about me, but this is what happened with her death.
Well, so the background story is that, up for the last 9 years, it was relatively okay. And it was the last probably two, especially the last year and then the last 6 months, it was becoming really, really hard.
Difficult.
And so she at the last couple months she couldn't walk. We
Mhm.
literally had to walk her, and then even then she wasn't able to. And we were it was only to the very end that she was bedbound.
Yes, actually the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, she was actually bedbound.
And we resisted going to hospice because with hospice it's a change in perspective.
Yes,
We always wanted to take an approach of helping her get better.
yes,
And we always felt that she could if we removed enough negative energy.
right.
But it was getting to the point where she wasn't getting better. She was
No,
fighting us. She didn't want to get better.
right.
And
And I can understand that.
so, but Patricia had always told her
Always from almost day one that we met.
that when she died, she would go and
I would meet her on the other side and help direct her in the direction that would be in her best interest.
and that's a very intuitive thing, but we've been doing that for years,
For many people,
and
yes,
it's a part of your consciousness. If you want to raise your consciousness and your evolution,
yes,
it's not that we can do it and you come to us to help you with that. Everybody can do it for themselves.
correct.
So that's why we created the ecosystem approach. But so let's go back to the story.
Okay, so um it was
So, and
so
I kind of outlined it here.
I
Yeah.
see that.
Okay.
So Jason had a client, and I was it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was fine. I
She
was
was bedbound at
she
that
was
point.
bedbound at that
We didn't have a caregiver that day.
not that day.
Yeah.
And so I was washing dishes, and I pretty much thought, I'm just going to go check and see how she's doing. I stood at the doorway for a moment, and she had basically been unconscious for 2 days. And by the way, this is called a transition time from what I learned, is that's how they describe it. So I went over to her and I took her hand, and I said, Mom, you know what? It's okay for you to go. I can see that you're struggling, and it's okay for you to go. I will take care of your son, and we're going to be okay. And just know that I will meet you on the other side. And I put her hand down, and I didn't want to disturb her too much. And I started to walk out of her room. And as I got to the threshold on the door, I heard from a whole nother place, meaning a whole nother dimension is what I call it. I heard her say, "What about Ron?" Well, Ron was her favorite dog. And they were two peas in a pod in so many ways. And I stopped for a second and I thought, okay, just leave it alone. I walked away, and I went back and I finished the dishes. It was about 2:15 then. I thought, I'm just going to go check on her. So I went back in. By the way, I had no expectations of anything. I just really felt that this was important, that I put that energy out there for her. And so this time I took her hand, and I bent down and I gave her a kiss on the cheek. And I said, "You need to know, I promise I will take care of your son. I will take care of I will take care of Ron. I will take care of Jamie too. That's the other dog. And we're going to be okay. We're going to miss you like crazy, but I want you to know we love you, and I have loved you." And here's the part that just gets me, is that I said, "I want to thank you for all of the amazing things you did for me." And I'm going to talk about those a little bit later on. All the amazing things. Thank you for being in my life. Mom, you can go. And I gave her another kiss. I said, "I love you." And I put her hand down and I walked out of the room. 15 minutes later, I walked back to the room. I stood there at the corner of her bed, so to speak. And one of the things I've been doing for the last few years is to see if she's still breathing. Well, her chest was not moving at all. And so I went over and I put my hand underneath her nose. There was no air. I put my hand in front of her mouth. There was no air. I knew she was gone. And the part that amazes me is that I didn't realize that telling her to go would be so very, very, very important. So the bottom line is that it was amazing. At that point, I came and got Jason. I did interrupt his session with a client. The client was amazing about all of this. And I want to say thank you about that. And then Jason went and did the same thing I did. He checked her pulse, and then
It was kind of obvious because
Yes.
she was very red for the last couple of days.
Yes, she
I
was.
went in there and she was white. She was completely white,
Yes,
and
yes.
it was I did the pulse thing, but
Yes,
that
you did.
wasn't
I
really
didn't
necessary.
do that.
Yeah.
And so the bottom line is that we don't realize how much when we talk to someone that they can actually hear, even if they're deaf, even if they don't have the cochlear implant put all together. She could hear me. She understood me. She understood my message and my energy. And that was amazing.
So
Jason, what is the conclusion of this segment?
no,
Oh.
the most important part is the message of the conclusion we got from
Oh,
the story.
my apologies to everybody. Yes.
And it just um the most important part of the story, which
Is this.
yes,
Is Jason said to me a couple of days, I kept checking on her to see if she was on the other side, and she hadn't been. It took a couple of days. She'd been doing a lot of morphine and so forth. She was in pain, and that really affects it. So I checked on her, and the most amazing thing is when she got to the other side and she stepped to this amazing place, there was all of these applause. And I said to her, "What do you mean applause?" And the souls that were on the other side said she was the first soul to step to the other side, the first soul to step to the other side that didn't have so much negative energy that they couldn't even work with her. She was cleaner than any soul that had ever stepped to the other side.
and
It was awesome, and she was applauded for it.
And she said, "I never really understood the energy stuff, but I'm starting to get it now."
Exactly.
She always indulged us, but that was
did.
it.
It's like, okay.
You know,
So the point that we're getting at is that start the ecosystem approach today, everyone, because it will make a difference whether you know it or not.
at the end, we were hopeless because it didn't look like we were making any progress.
That's correct. So
the conclusion is this experience with Mom Des tells us that the energy work that we do with the ecosystem approach is very effective, but it doesn't always show right away, especially on this earthly plane like we expect.
Yeah.
We could see with clarity that talking to an unconscious, comatose, pre-verbal people like babies can still happen in effective ways,
Yes.
and that it should be done. These abilities, such as refined intuition, the ability to affect subtle energies, are available to everyone who uses the ecosystem approach. We learn that from removing dark energy at any time in one's life is extremely beneficial and helpful using the ecosystem approach.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about our perspective of dark energy related to dementia and how dark energy has a motive to affect others in a negative way. We'll talk about how we use the ecosystem approach to counter this dark energy and where we were very successful and where we weren't. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about our perspective of dark energy related to dementia and how dark energy has a motive to affect others in a negative way. That's kind of a deep statement right there.
Mhm.
We'll talk about how we used the ecosystem approach to counter this dark energy and where we were successful and where we were not. How did we see dark energy in mom, and what did we perceive about that energy's motives?
The dark energy did not happen at random times. It always was in the context of what we were doing
Yes.
and with things that we had to do to help mom be healthy and happy, and sometimes things that we had to do, like be available for this show.
Yeah.
This is on a time, it's recorded, but it starts at a certain time, and that's it. And she always
Managed
to act out or have a toilet issue, or she was confused, or
exactly, and it was very
apparent.
very apparent and also really stressful.
It wasn't random.
No.
And people say, "Oh, that's just accident. That's just coincidence."
Yeah.
And that's how science and people who don't see energy
Right.
talk about energy, because they say that's how they discount it and
Right.
brush it aside.
Right.
So, so her unconscious motives became more and more apparent, and as we cleared more and more, we could see that there was an agenda. It wasn't just the dark energy attached to it had a motive.
Yes, it did. So, Jason, what was the personal experiences with the dark energy possessions?
We would see an energy take over my mom, and she would her facial expression change. It was amazing.
And you could even see expressions that your dad used, and in her face. It was really incredible.
Well, the whole point is that the possession that we saw was my dad.
Yes, it was.
And I remember in the middle of the night, I was groggy and she was screaming, and I'd go into her room. I always did the night shift. And
because I'd done a lot during the day.
I went into her room and I came face to face with my dead father.
Yeah.
And the way she was talking,
it was not her way.
It was the phrasing and things like that was not my mother. He would say, "You people, I want to get out of here. I want to get away from you people." And that's how my dad used to phrase. He had his own issues, but to phrase his delusions about criminals coming to get him, and those people and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And I was talking to my dad, and it happened more than once.
Oh, numerous.
Oh, so many times, 30 or 40. And so when we started to see a pattern, and so when we started to see her jaw would be set and she'd get kind of a gruff expression on her face.
It was not her way.
It was not her. We would start clearing. And then pretty soon she would be back.
Calm down and she'd be better.
No.
And by the way, she never remembered any of it. And I want to make one major point here. One of the other things that she did, which was not her, was she'd reach out and swing actually at Jason.
Yes.
And that was so shocking. The first time I saw her do that, it was like, whoa, who are you? There was that. And then she would call me really cuss word names, and I'm not going to repeat them on the show.
But that's not part of her normal vernacular.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem random.
No,
it happened in ways, and usually the worst possessions were at night. Now, if you've seen the advertising on TV, there's a drug that they have about people with Alzheimer's and dementia related, they get upset and they show really mild things. And I think most people, it's much more serious than that, but it's that doesn't get rid of that negative energy. It just moves it around.
It does the whack-a-mole thing.
If you listen to the side effects, they're pretty serious, including death. So that's a really, really big deal. And so We got to the point where we could sense him coming, and we promptly removed it, and
Removed him.
yes, but it kept coming back. So,
Yes.
so,
Yes. Well,
yeah,
so let's talk about the medical profession would say that these behaviors were normal and part of the hallucinations and delusions that someone with dementia has. What did we see, Jason?
that's true.
Okay.
They've done a really good job of cataloging the types of behavior that someone with dementia has, and that's consistent with what my mother was doing.
That's
Okay,
correct.
they don't see why.
Yeah.
And what we saw, what was so fascinating was that there was an agenda. There
Mhm.
was motives.
Yes.
It wasn't arbitrary. It wasn't just, so, oh, okay, that she has dementia, now she's acting up. It was like that. It was consistent with her story. It was
Yes.
consistent with the fact that she was adopted. She was
Absolutely.
adopted at birth, and she never knew about it until she was 20.
Right.
We suspected there was
Some sexual abuse.
sexual abuse.
Yeah.
She would go in the bathroom and do weird things, and it just um, um, and the bad behaviors were consistent with those types of traumas.
Yes. By
So,
all means.
mom was in a skilled nursing facility. She had some pain. She had fallen, and she was screaming in pain. So we took her to this is way before hospice. Took her to this facility, and they took her to a skilled nursing facility for 13 days. They gave her antidepressants and pain medication,
Yes.
and those things didn't work with her very well. And
It made it more difficult to deal with her.
she was scattered, and
Oh,
she what little consciousness she had before was gone.
was
We
gone.
took her off those things. She was so much better,
But she did come back.
and
We'll say that.
and responded to the clearing much more,
Yeah,
much better.
yes.
So,
But that in itself was a really what is it? Stressful situation because we had some idea that
yeah,
what she did, she was going to do. So
yes.
Jason, how were we successful with dark energy and how were we unsuccessful?
This is a very important part of the story.
Okay.
We were very successful in the beginning, helping remove the negative energy, and then toward the end, as my dad would start to possess her, we could see the hopelessness, despondent, depressed energy that she'd
Yes.
have, and that was usually in conjunction with my dad possessing her. But we could clear it and snap her out of it.
Yes.
But at the end, the last 6 months, the last 3 months,
That was really difficult.
there was so much of it, and we were getting depressed. It was
Yeah.
the house was filled with this heavy, heavy energy,
Right.
and it was affecting us.
Mhm.
And we could clear and clear and clear, and there's only so much clearing we could do because we had other things to do and other things to do to take care of, and
Correct.
those types of things.
Yeah.
And we were doing that, but it became overwhelming, and
Yeah.
we thought we failed. When she died, we thought we had failed because our intention was for her to remove enough of that negative energy so that she would have a peaceful death and just
and step to the other side
to the other side.
easily. And then by the way, when we step to the other side, we have things to do. We don't just get to go sit around and do nothing. We have things to not only learn, but we also have let's see, a purpose and
an agenda.
agenda. Very good. And I got to tell you, I've checked on her a few times, and she's amazed that she can learn.
And she's doing so well.
She really
yes.
is, and it's so awesome to see. So I just want to say to everybody, start the ecosystem approach today. Start removing negative energy.
So the point is, though, is that it was so bad, and we kept clearing, and we thought, oh my gosh, we're failing. And by the way, we've been doing this for 25 years. People have come to us and said, oh, this isn't working, blah, blah,
Right,
blah.
right.
And they get hopeless. They get overwhelmed with this
Yes,
negative energy.
yes.
It's hopeless.
Yes.
It's not working, blah, blah, blah. And that's never exactly true.
Yes.
But this is a great example
Mhm.
of it didn't show in the physical,
Right.
but she had those last few moments of her death was peaceful, like we intended.
Exactly.
And then when she crossed over to the other side, there was this amazing success.
Yes.
And that made it all worthwhile for us.
It really did. Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Our experience with this dark energy is completely contrary to the way we are programmed about the workings of the world and what happens. We saw clearly that dark energy has a consciousness and motives that relate to the person and their life story, which happened with my mom.
Yes.
We see that dementia allowed this dark energy free reign to affect us and her in ways that had a specific agenda and are not random. We're not trying to get others to believe what we see. But it answers the question of what happens in a day-to-day life that is usually considered accidental or random.
Right.
We're not trying to convince you, but we see that a lot of what happens is based on negative energy, not based on just random things that just happen. The ecosystem approaches teaches you to perceive and work with these energies for your personal benefit.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about what we see as intuitives about the causes of dementia. Doctors will hate this. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about what we see as intuitives about the causes for dementia. Doctors will hate this. Well, Jason, what do we see as the cause of dementia?
It's a natural reaction of the body that is holding dark energy of trauma and emotional and physical pain. And what's natural is it has to deal with it. So one option it has is to forget the pain and trauma,
right,
i.e. dementia, Alzheimer's, especially as we age, because these energies build up as we live our life.
That's right.
And if we're not using some sort of energy approach like the ecosystem approach to remove it, and by the way, not all energy approaches are the same. We are so focused on getting rid of that negative energy.
We are.
So much more than other things that we've seen. But the body is forced to deal with it by either dying or forgetting the pain and trauma. Now, a lot of people, rather than get dementia, they get cancer and die. They have a stroke and die. They have some sort of disease and die.
Kidney disease, big one.
Die at 60, 50, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another way of dealing with it. But dementia is a very common one. And on her death certificate, they listed dementia, Alzheimer's.
As the cause.
Yes. And they would say, well, she just forgot to breathe.
Right.
But you heard the story. You can make your own assessment. Patricia told her it was okay for her to leave.
I did.
And she did.
Said, we're going to be fine.
And she just did.
Yes.
That's not forgetting to breathe.
No,
So
it's time for me to go as far as she was concerned.
Many doctors insist, they've been programmed. I would even say programmed to believe that there's always a pathology connected to illness and disease. And that's not untrue. But they think then if you see the pathology, if you see this virus or this bacteria or this plaque, they used to talk about plaque on your brain.
Yes, exactly.
Then that's the root.
Yes.
That's not the root because they don't see the energy.
Right.
And we see it so clearly, and it makes so much sense. Right. Why would someone get dementia? Why does one person get dementia and another person doesn't? Well, if there's pain and trauma in your life that you don't want to deal with, it makes perfect sense from a body standpoint,
Exactly. Yes. From the physical stuff. Well, I'm going to ask another question. Is dementia contagious?
I would say kind of. And let me explain why. Okay.
Kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an energy. So pain and trauma. My dad, he was depressed. We suspected there was some sort of schizophrenia,
Correct.
That sort of thing, but he would never allow himself to be diagnosed, that sort of thing. A doctor gave him an antipsychotic one time, and he said, "I'm not crazy," and didn't take it.
Yeah. Because he was smart enough to look it up.
Yeah, and he was intelligent, but anyways, so but negative dark energy, depression, dementia, and the associated depression with dementia is an energy that affects everybody.
And we, it was something that it took us a little while to see that the effects that it was having on us.
Yes.
And that in itself was wow. But I'm gonna say one of the things that it did was it enabled Jason and I both to clear that depression, and then a few other things.
It forced us
It
to really
really
focus
did.
on clearing that
And I'm
depression.
so grateful that we did that because it made a difference in our lives.
So it was getting to the point where it was wearing on us. And
Yes.
it wasn't that we were getting dementia, but it was so heavy and so oppressive.
Well, and it could have been had we not had the ecosystem approach, because that oppressive, that heavy, when you don't think or don't know you have any other way but to either lay down and let it just bury you, or walk around with all those burdens of it sitting on your shoulders, there is another way. And that's the part that we used to get through this.
One of the things we noticed was after she left, after they took her body away, the house felt different.
Completely.
And we cleared away all that negative energy, and it was just happier and lighter.
And still is.
And it feels like we're getting sharper. The dogs are getting more alive, and
Well,
they're changing a little bit.
exactly.
And they're both grieving in their separate ways, and so are we to a
Yes.
certain degree. But we
Yes.
clear that grief, and we're doing pretty well
Yes.
considering.
Well, okay. Let me ask this question, Jason. Why do doctors hate this? What were the energy that we're talking about? The energy work.
There's not only have they been trained to look for they look through the microscope and for the pathology,
Understood.
and that's not completely wrong.
No,
It's
it's
just
It crea-
it's not the root.
it creates black and white thinking, is what it
Yes,
does.
it does. And so if you find the pathology, then that's it, and then
And
you've
then
proven
you're done,
something,
and exactly.
and it frames the whole topic.
Exactly.
And there's also, and I have to say this, there's a natural bias. And doctors I've been hearing this from doctors for years and years about energy, that is just woo-woo stuff. You're crazy if you have that, blah, blah, blah. But it's the only realm that I'm aware of when you know more than someone else. You can have more perceptions than someone else, but you're considered crazy.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the derivation of things like schizophrenia or any sort of mental illness.
Correct.
Is often negative energy that's
Oh.
gone amok. And so what have they done with that for the last 100 years? They've suppressed it with drugs.
Yes.
And that's why people who are on meds, schizophrenics don't like to take their meds because it makes them feel bad. Well, I'm sure that's the negative energy.
Yeah.
But it's also the drugs that are trying to suppress them. It's not really getting rid of it. It's just suppressing them.
Exactly. And if you think about it, that would feel like something is in a place where it shouldn't be.
Yes.
That's what I see. So what about lifestyle factors? Don't they affect dementia?
To a point. We saw it with Mom. We gave her such a much better lifestyle in terms of, exercise, regular sleep,
Right.
hydration,
Yes.
good protein, good food, all
Yes.
those things.
Yes.
And it really helped. And it helped us work with her, and she was happier. But it didn't stop the dementia. And I see that even with our clearing, there was so much trauma that was put aside.
And the trauma in her, I have to say this, was actually never addressed. When you believe, even innately, she talked about times when she was when she was a kid. When I would look at her when she was talking about those things, I could see that she never felt. She always felt like what we call a throwaway, but she also never felt good enough.
Yeah.
About herself to believe in herself that she had value.
The energy she was carrying was shame.
Oh, and it was heavy, overwhelming. It was a lot.
Yes.
Truly, truly, truly a lot.
So lifestyle can help.
Yes.
It doesn't cure. If you have that trauma that you've been suppressing,
Yes.
we see that it was the way she functioned with her Enneagram type. By the
Yes.
way, Enneagram type is it just makes it so clear that your Enneagram type is a reflection of the dark energy attached to you.
Yes.
But her ability to deny that which was uncomfortable to
Yes.
her as something she's been doing all of her life, and it became so clear
Yes.
as the dementia came over because she would just deny anything. She would do, um, she would be doing something, and then 2 minutes later saying, I'm not doing that."
Oh yeah. That was, yeah.
Why you bending over and picking up your Kleenex? She always had a Kleenex in her hand. It was compulsive.
It was compulsive.
But
And by the way, her balance, especially the last 2 years, was
she was
really bad.
she act like a drunken sailor, but she would still pick things up, and we would say, "Mom, don't do that. If you drop something, we'll pick it up or whatever."
Exactly.
But it it would make you fall.
Yeah.
She couldn't remember that. So
Yeah, she couldn't, I'm sorry to say. So, Jason, let's do the summary
Yep.
and then tell people how to do the clearing. Is that
we're
correct?
going to do that in the next segment.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
I
the next
see.
segment.
I
But
see. So, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
as intuitives, we see very clearly that negative or dark energy is the root cause of illness, disease, and dementia, as well as many conditions where the actual cause is unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Medical science looks for some type of pathology of all these conditions, but our knowledge of subtle energies and physical manifestations are symptoms of those energies that we perceive.
Correct.
Medical scientists are programmed only to look for tangible expressions of human illness, but we see that the dark energy has the ability to reconfigure itself and express itself in other areas of life if it's blocked with drugs or treatment.
Yes.
Although lifestyle factors can play a role, they are not the root. And also, as you understand dark energy, it's easy to see how it can be contagious and affect others around, even in the environment. The ecosystem approach teaches you how to develop refined intuition and develop dark energy that creates dementia, illness, and disease.
Yes. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to show you how to remove dark energy, whether you have dementia or not. And hopefully none of you have dementia out there. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to teach you how to clear and remove dark energy and then actually do it with you. Join us, everyone. But Jason's going to
First, we're going to talk about how to clear.
How to do it. Yes, there you
go. So, and we're asking Moxie to put up the picture of the processor.
Correct.
But basically, you can take any posture that you need. You don't have to be in a reverent position.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like praying. It's working with the energy directly.
Yes.
You're not talking to a deity. You're talking to the energy. And it's not just the energy. You're talking to your own essence that is part of you and telling it what to do. Mm-hmm. So you can be standing, sitting, walking, laying down, standing on your head. We do a lot of clearing when we're going for a walk in the morning.
We do.
You can do it when you're doing dishes, taking a shower.
Exactly.
You can do it anytime. And sometimes once you get really comfortable with it, you can do it when you're talking to someone.
Exactly, that's true. And one of the other things and people have asked me this question, when I'm doing the clearing, I notice that my cat or my dog will get up on my lap or want to get up on my lap. And that's because they're perceiving the positive of what you're doing.
The negative energy is very clear. Clear. So when it removes, it's also clear. So
exactly.
It can make you feel good.
Yes.
And sometimes you perceive it right away. Sometimes you don't. It doesn't matter either way. It still works.
Exactly.
Whether you perceiving it or not has to do with negative energy.
And also remember, your intention to remove the negative energy really matters.
Yes,
I just want to put that out there. I don't say that enough. So, Jason, let's.
And you want to talk about life force too?
Oh, of course. Thank you. Life force. At the end of the clearings, we're actually going to activate life force. Life force is one of the most powerful energies that we have access to here on this planet. And this life force, we're going to call it in. We're going to have it come in through the top of our head. We're going to stop it at the tips of our toes. We're going to ask it to turn around and come back up our body and collect negative energy along the way and throw that negative energy away. So it's a good thing. It is not a bad thing. So with all of that said, Mr. Rohn, should I get started?
I'll do it.
Okay, here we
So
go.
here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that dementia, as well as other neurological conditions, stem from trauma and pain that a person accumulates in a lifetime. Yes.
And I don't need it
Take,
anymore.
take a
Take a
breath.
breath. Now throw it away. By the way, I recommend throwing your negative energy to the left. As I see it, it moves easier to the left than it does to the right. But if you don't want to throw it on someone, throw it. Just make sure you put it in a container. And especially if you can remember what the processor looks like, it's a big deal. With that said, carrying on, and to eliminate the barrier so I can see that the best prevention of dementia and neurological conditions is to remove the dark energies of trauma and emotional pain that a person carries for a lifetime. Nice and easy. Pick it up and throw it away.
And to eliminate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm I have in my life because there is dark energy that I'm ignoring and it's continuing to act upon me.
Take a breath. Get rid of it. You don't need it. Stress, anxiety, throw it away.
And if you have a lot of stress and anxiety, there's negative energy. So just
Just
that's sign up for the ecosystem approach. We'll
There
tell
you
you how to do that in just a minute.
Okay. So, and to eliminate the veils and illusions. So I can see that it is always possible to communicate with a person's essence, even if they are unconscious or unable to communicate in a normal way. Take a breath, pick up those veils and illusions, not only to help yourself, but somebody else.
By the way, that's truly amazing. Our ability, we did this in the very beginning because she had the dementia and she couldn't hear.
Yes.
We talked to her essence. It made us talk to her essence.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes.
So if you have someone who's unconscious, comatose, even if you have a teenager, which you can't talk to anyways because they don't listen, talk to their essence.
Yes.
A child who's pre-verbal, a baby,
Yes.
you don't know
Talk
why
to
they're
them.
screaming. Yeah,
Yes.
talk to them. It's really, really valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the veils and illusions, so I can see dark energy has a consciousness and motives that it seeks to act out in the physical dimension, often to the detriment of those who it's attached to.
Take a breath, nice and easy, and throw it away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see the cause of dementia comes from a buildup of trauma and pain that a person has, whether it's known or unknown, that comes out as people age.
Yes.
Take a breath. I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah, well, see.
So thank you very much.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see that dementia is the body's way to trying to overcome the toxicity of dark energy that is built up over a lifetime.
Yes, ooh, that's big. Take a breath and throw it away. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the medical profession has been very good at seeing and cataloging the common behaviors associated with dementia and has normalized them. But because they do not perceive or acknowledge the existence of subtle energy that motivates those behaviors. Clear those barriers. We need to see what those behaviors are. Take a breath and what motivates them. Throw it away.
So,
9.
and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the best thing I can do to prevent dementia in my life is to remove the negative and dark energies in my life as early as I can
Yes.
to keep them from developing dementia and other physical conditions, including cancer and death.
There you go. Take a breath and blow it away. And the last one for this segment here is, and to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see that if I develop this secret power for myself and my business, I could use that power to create and innovate new methods for a better world, starting with myself. Take a breath and blow it away. Blow it out. There we go. So let's activate some life force energy.
Yep.
Follow along, everyone. I direct all my resources in all dimensions. So I can activate life force so I can have happiness and hope and amazing health and the ability to see what negative energies are standing in my way and remove them easily, smoothly, and consistently. Take a breath, pull in that life force, and blow out any negative energies left over. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to have complete consciousness all my life by removing the dark energy now.
Good. Take a breath. Pull it in and blow it out. And activate life force so I can trust that my ability to perceive and remove dark energy is valid and will help me in my life and probably others as well. Pull it in. That's life force energy you're pulling in, most powerful that there is. Blow out any negative energy. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can decide right now to remove the trauma and pain from my life by using the ecosystem approach.
Good. Take a breath and blow it out. And activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and creative, have the ability to not only heal myself, but possibly heal others, have laughter and love and fun and joy, and the ability to see that when something isn't right, I can remove negative energy to see what isn't right, and then remove that too, starting right now, today. Pull it in and blow it out. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
We're going to do a part 2 for this show about mom's dementia. There's so many things we need to talk about. There's so many things we learned. There's so much that confirmed to us about energy and energy work and how important it is.
Yes.
And how this can not only work with dementia, but other conditions. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
We see, and we didn't say this as explicitly we should in the show, but the dark energy is the basis for all illness and disease.
Yes.
Doctors are always looking for the pathology, and they're saying, okay, well, we're gonna cure you.
Yes.
Cancer is a good example. I had two. My first wife died of cancer, and my daughter had cancer.
Yes.
And so we're really,
Got it.
yes, really aware of that. So, this is how you can prevent it. This is the best way you can do to prevent it.
Right.
So, if today's show, if you thought, oh my gosh, this is what I want, I've got to have this. Go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section, go to our YouTube channel, The Ecosystem Approach, and subscribe to our channel. Watch us every week. See our show every week.
Yes.
Our Facebook page is theecosystemapproach.org.
Right. And we'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.